Yo, what's up, guys? It's here, Trev Game Vlog. I'm here to talk to you guys about another video. It's another video about things in which I make when I'm salty, aka another one of those random ass videos that don't really have any logic behind it. But it's just something that fucking annoyed the shit out of me yesterday, and I feel like it makes for a good discussion topic. So let me preface the situation. I have this female acquaintance that I text. Well, I was at the gym last night, and I didn't text this particular female. She texted me pretty much complaining about something really fucking, pretty much whatever the fuck type shit. And so my first response is that it was pretty much the idea is that she had went home for something, and then she was complaining about how shitty the internet is and the service that her parents use, and why the fuck do her parents use that service. And mind you, she already has a place to stay. So my first response was, "Why did you go home?" And her response was something along the lines of like really dumb shit. But what bothered me is then she goes, "I don't like being in the city that we're currently in, which is the city she lives in, which is the city I'm in currently." She goes, "I don't like this. I don't like the city this time of year." And my response was like, and for someone like me who's lived here his entire life, my first response is, what the fuck is wrong with the city? And I know her relatively well enough to know what things could and could not bother her. So I'm like, what the fuck is happening this time of year? Especially because it's not like I'm expecting her to be gone for 6 months or some shit. Pretty sure she's only gone for like a few weeks. So I'm like, it's October. The closest next holiday is Halloween, which is a holiday you can almost completely avoid by just not having your front porch lights on. And considering how early they seem to do it nowadays, it's like a non-factor. Like, what the fuck is the problem? And I'm like, well, what's wrong with this city this time of year? And of course, I don't get a fucking answer. And this gets into the thing that pisses me the fuck off. I get the fucking, oh, it's a secret kind of shit. Now, the way she explained it, I forget actually, what the fuck was it specifically? Because it wasn't that it was like it's a secret. It was something really basic. And yes, I actually am going to look it up on my phone real quick. Because it's the type of shit that just gets on my fucking nerves. So fucking, where is it? What was it? Oh, she said something in retrospect like, you'll figure out soon enough. And then she goes into the context of saying it's public knowledge. Now, usually when a girl tells you something is public knowledge, my first response is, if it's public knowledge, then why haven't you told me yet if it's public knowledge? Like the way she fucking said it to me was as if she didn't have a problem with me knowing. She just wasn't gonna tell me. What the fuck logic does that make? And girls do some shit to this similar. Usually when she walks into the room, and if it's your boyfriend or husband, this makes even less sense. But let's say this is your friend, and she walks into the room and she just does like this, like this obvious, I want you to ask me what's wrong situation. And so it's like you walk into the room, you hear, and that's the caring friend or boyfriend or husband you are. You fucking walk over and you're like, what's wrong? She goes, I don't want to talk about it. And my first response is, look, and I could obviously be reading too much into this, and you guys and all the females correct me if I am reading too much into this. But realistically, a girl always gives this, sometimes the girls gives this fuck, or at least the ones that for some stupid reason do this. There are girls who give the fucking response of, I don't want to talk about it. And from a guy's perspective, I'm sitting there going, dude, what the fuck did you draw attention to it for? It's the same thing with the conversation. I didn't text her. She texted me complaining about shit. That's actually the way she started the conversation, was complaining about, I think it was the internet specifically. And I was like, well, why did you go home in the first place? She goes, you'll find out soon enough. And I'm like, is it a secret? She's like, oh no, it's not a secret. It's public knowledge. But you won't tell me. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Why do that? Why intentionally do that? Same thing with the girls who sit there and draw attention to the fact that they're not feeling right, and then and then the girl's response when you ask them what's wrong is, I don't want to talk about it. And so my response then is like, then what the and see, I don't try to be a dick about these things, which is why I asked you what was wrong in the first place. Because to be honest with you, and I know some girls do this to fucking test whether the guy gives a shit about them, but here's the problem with that logic. If I'm asking you what's wrong, then that means I obviously care enough to ask you. Which means you shouldn't fucking then after that point go, don't worry about it, it's a secret. Because the guy's gonna be like, well, what the fuck did you bring it up for? Or why the fuck did you draw attention to yourself with it if you had no intention of telling me? And if you're dating it, it's like, we're dating and you don't want to tell me what's wrong. But you're gonna sit here and sulk. And then the girl will get mad if you either leave it alone or you fucking walk away from it. And then I love how girls always make this shit about how all men are dogs. Well, let's pretend like that annoying ass metaphor is true. If all men are dogs, what dog keeps repeating the same actions that lead him to a bad ending? And in this particular situation, it would be, why the fuck would I keep asking about your day when you keep constantly telling me that you're not going to tell me, or it's a secret, and I don't want to talk about it? Because then I'm like, well, and then you'll be like, well, why don't you ever ask me how my day is anymore? Because when I did ask, you fucking told me not to worry about it and that you don't want to talk about it. So, of course, my response is, well, I guess I'm not going to fucking ask you anymore. And what makes it worse is in some situations, girls will fucking tell you like 20 minutes later, too. And I'm like, then what the fuck was the secret if you're going to tell me like 10 to 20 minutes later? It's like you've intentionally drug out the conversation for no other reason than to piss me off. And so now I'm in a fucking bad mood because you sat there and you intentionally got me in a bad mood by fucking just not telling me shit. And then the situation I experienced last night, I was like, why in the fuck even bring up some shit that you aren't willing to tell me? And she goes, why would I tell you something I barely acknowledge? Because you still acknowledge it. Why do women do this? Is it to test a guy's interest in you? Because I'll tell you this much. There is no guy who likes to fucking ask you a question and then you fucking shut them down and then get mad at them later for not asking you the same question on a different day. Because a guy, we usually learn from our mistakes usually after the first or second time. If the girl doesn't want to tell us what the fuck is wrong the first or second time, then I'm not going to expect a change in personality on the third time. And then for the girl, and what makes it even worse is that some girls get the emotional response they were looking for. Like some girls do that shit to test whether the guy cares enough about them by intentionally setting herself up in a position where it's like, and like to see if the guy will respond to her. And then maybe the guy does go, well, what's wrong? You seem kind of distraught. You seem tired. You seem like something's wrong. The girl will get the emotional response she wants. And then how does she reward that emotional response? By brushing him off. If you're going to do it as a test, give me positive reinforcement to let me know that was the right thing to do. Because if you don't and you brush me off, then my response is that, okay, she doesn't want me asking about her, asking her shit when she's feeling bad. So guess what the fuck I'm not going to do anymore? I'm not going to worry about what the fuck is wrong with you when you sit there and you sigh and you give off all these fucking hints. Because some girls, for some reason, think guys that don't realize the shit. We realize it, but you usually have already told us in previous situations that you don't respond, that you won't respond positively to it. So what the fuck do I look like asking you what's wrong? And as I'm saying, I'm just like, look, and see, girls can fix it so easily. You can easily go, look, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I acknowledge that you are trying to be there and supportive of me, and I appreciate that. It's just something I don't want to talk about right now. We can do something else to get my mind off of it, but I might tell you later. Like, let me know that you understand the effort I was putting into asking you, and then tell me, just straight out tell me, look, I appreciate it. I just don't want to talk about it. That's all you got to say. I appreciate the consideration. I just don't want to talk about it. Instead, girls like to play this fucking it's a secret, or you can't know right now, or you'll find out eventually. Because all that fucking tells me is is that you just want to fucking play games. And that shit isn't cute. I don't know any guy who finds that shit cute, especially when it's after you've already looked distraught after coming into the room or texting me or giving off some type of fucking sign, whether it's on the phone, face to face, or through messaging. If you go out of your way to type the word sigh or ugh or arg or something to give off the effect that you are feeling distressed, and then you tell me right afterwards I don't want to talk about it, then what the fuck do you type it for? I don't need to do that. I don't need to see that shit. Like, if you're gonna, like, it's so fucking annoying and it's so goddamn unnecessary. Because for some reason there's this weird this seemed to be this weird non-logic thing that apparently you got to make all your emotion visible to the public, and then be like, why are you reading into too much? And some girls will tell me, maybe I'm reading into this too much. But realistically, what do you usually do when someone you care about walks into the room feeling distressed? You fucking sit there and ignore them? And if you do that, it's probably because you've been trained to do that by previous experience with them. Which still proves my fucking point. Because there are girls who internally get mad at guys for not giving a fuck when you are the one who have trained them not to give a fuck. And I'm just curious, is there a fucking reason why women do that? Or have guys figured out, or maybe there's some guys that know the game better than I do. That's perfect. I'm willing to take criticism on both sides. But that shit, like last night, that shit just reminded me of something that just annoys me the fucking death. Do not fucking allude to something in physical attributes. Don't go out of your... Don't signal shit that you know you're not going to talk about. And if you're doing it to see if the guy will give you an emotional response, then give him positive reinforcement so he knows that was the right thing to do. Because as I said, if I realize something is stupid and bad and it doesn't benefit me to do it, then I'm not going to fucking do it. No one does shit in this world with no sense of benefit from it. Intentionally. They do it for some type of benefit, whether it's physical, emotional, financially, whatever the fuck. You always do shit for some type of benefit. So, I don't fucking know. It was just something to get on my goddamn nerves. Please, interaction and thoughts and opinions are welcome. It's just something that bugs the fuck out of me. Don't have secrets that you'll eventually end up telling me later, usually within the same goddamn day. Maybe go through an unnecessary amount of conversation and aggravation due to you, for some fucking reason, just not saying what you need to say. And above all things, if it's something that it's common knowledge and I can't, but for some reason you won't tell me, then you're a fucking liar. And don't fucking tell me it's common knowledge. It's not. If it was, then you wouldn't have a problem fucking telling me. Somebody help me, please. Fuck. Anyways, lost game from your boy Terrell. And I will catch you guys later. Peace out.